Opening Sagittarius, you have no idea what one person will be capable of doing with you. Sagittarius, slow down for just a moment. Breathe deeply, not with your chest but with your soul. Do you feel that invisible pull, like a quiet current under the surface of your everyday life? Something or someone is moving toward you, and it's not by chance. In fact, the timing is too precise to be coincidence. If you're here, it's because your soul is ready to remember something it has always known but never quite named. There is a connection forming on your horizon, one that carries the power to alter the course of your life, not through chaos but through clarity. A person, yes, one specific person, is either about to step into your life, or is already there, gently orbiting, waiting for divine timing to unfold. They won't just change your mood or your circumstances. They will change your mirror. Because the truth is, you're on the edge of becoming someone you've never dared to fully imagine. And this person will be the catalyst. As always, if this message already stirs something deep in you, you're invited to like, share, or subscribe. Not because algorithms matter, but because resonance does. When one Sagittarius awakens, another feels the ripple. So stay with me. What comes next isn't just a prediction. It's a portal. Gate 1, the mirror. Rediscovering who you really are. Sagittarius, you've always carried a certain restlessness inside you. Not the kind that seeks escape, but the kind that seeks expansion. An inner knowing that you were born for something more, something extraordinary, even if you haven't yet put words to it. And now the universe is preparing to send someone into your life who will reflect that truth back to you. Not in vague compliments or surface admiration, but through the way they see what even you have forgotten about yourself. This is not someone ordinary. They are not here to flatter or distract you. They are here to disrupt the illusion of who you think you have to be. For most of your life, you've worn many masks, some out of necessity, some out of habit, some simply because no one ever truly saw the depths of your fire. You've played the optimist, the philosopher, the wanderer. You've made people laugh when your heart was aching, offered wisdom when you were desperate for your own. But deep down, Sagittarius, haven't you sensed that there's more to you? That the roles you've played, as noble and brilliant as they've been, are still only partial reflections of your essence? This person, the one coming, will not be fooled by the masks. And that might unsettle you at first. They won't just listen to what you say. They'll hear what you don't. They'll watch how your eyes light up when you speak your truth, and how they dim when you shrink to fit into someone else's world. They won't let you perform your light. They'll call you to live it. It may start with a conversation, a question that feels oddly personal, oddly precise. You might feel exposed, like someone just read the pages of a book you've kept tucked beneath your ribcage. And in that moment, you'll recognize something ancient in them. A knowing, a frequency that matches yours. Not in the way of mirroring your personality, but mirroring your potential. They will reflect the version of you that you've only glimpsed in dreams or moments of rare stillness. There will be tension at first. Because Sagittarius, you're not used to being seen without effort. You're the one who shines by choice, who walks ahead and holds the torch. But this person will offer no pedestal and ask for no performance. They will meet you soul to soul. And it will feel both terrifying and safe, like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing you've had wings all along. You might push them away at first. Not with anger but with doubt. You may think, they don't really know me. Or they must be imagining something I'm not. But over time, something in you will soften. The armor you've worn will feel heavy. The stories you've told yourself will begin to crack, not because they were wrong, but because they were incomplete. This is how mirrors work. Not by demanding change, but by revealing what was always there. Remember this: Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, truth, and wisdom. But when Jupiter is out of balance, it can also amplify illusions, especially the illusion that you must always be strong, always be free, always be unshakably sure. This person will gently unravel that illusion. They will show you that your vulnerability is not a crack in your power, but the doorway to it. They will remind you that you don't have to go it alone. That some journeys, especially the most sacred ones, are meant to be witnessed, walked together. One Sagittarius woman once told me about the moment her mirror arrived. He wasn't the type she would have chosen. He wasn't flashy or loud or adventurous in the usual sense. But in one quiet conversation, he named something she had never dared to say out loud, that she was exhausted from being the one who always had the answers. He told her, "You don't have to be the fire all the time. Sometimes you get to be the one warmed by it." She said it was the first time she had let someone hold her truth without trying to reshape it. And from that moment on, everything changed, not just the way she loved but the way she lived. She went back to painting. She started writing poems again. She laughed more slowly, cried more freely. Because she was no longer performing her purpose, she was embodying it. This is the energy of the person coming into your life. They may not be flashy. They may not speak in grand metaphors. But they will say something simple, something piercing, and it will feel like home. They will hold your dreams in their hands as if they were their own. And they will not be afraid of your fire. In fact, they will ask for more of it, not to use but to honor. What happens next is not about them, it's about you. You will begin to remember, not who others have told you you are, but who you have always been, under the stories, under the striving, under the stars. Sagittarius, you are the archer. But for once, you are not the one aiming. This time it is the universe that has aimed someone toward you. Someone who doesn't just see your light, but who will awaken it from the inside out. Are you ready to meet the person who will finally reflect the whole truth of who you are? Gate 2: the disruption. Letting go of the path you thought was yours. Sagittarius, you've always been a seeker. Not because you're lost, but because your soul understands that truth is not a destination. It's a living, breathing experience. But even for you, there are moments when the path you've been walking no longer matches the rhythm of your inner compass. And when that happens, the universe doesn't whisper, it disrupts. It brings wind strong enough to knock you off balance, not to punish you, but to redirect you towards something far more aligned. This is one of those moments. You may have built a life that looks like freedom on the outside. Maybe you have traveled, created, spoken your truth, done your work. But lately, hasn't there been a quiet ache under the surface? A sense that the version of success you once dreamed of no longer fits the shape of your becoming? Maybe it's in your work. The title that once made you proud now feels like a cage. Maybe it's in a relationship. The person you built a future with no longer sees the same horizon. Or maybe it's in your own mind, where the dreams you used to chase now feel like echoes of a younger self who no longer lives here. Whatever it is, Sagittarius, it's okay to outgrow your own vision. That's not failure. That's evolution. But the hard part, the sacred part, is letting go of the story you thought you were meant to live. Especially when you've worked so hard to create it. The disruption always feels like a betrayal at first. You question everything. You ask, was I wrong? Did I misread the signs? Did I waste years building something that wasn't even mine? But the truth is far more tender. You were never wrong. You were simply gathering the strength, the wisdom, the clarity to see that a bigger calling was waiting beyond the plan you had made. One Sagittarius man told me of the moment everything unraveled. He had built a thriving career, had the house, the schedule, the reputation. But one morning as he sat in his office, surrounded by symbols of achievement, he felt like he couldn't breathe. Not physically but soulfully. It wasn't burnout. It was truth. And the truth was, he was living someone else's dream. That very afternoon, he walked away from the only life he'd ever known and into the complete unknown. He didn't know where he was going. He only knew he couldn't stay. Today he runs a retreat center in a forest he never planned to visit. And he says he finally feels like himself. Not the polished version. The real one. This is the kind of disruption that is moving through your life now. It may not be dramatic or loud. It may come quietly as a growing discomfort. A series of small no's your soul begins to whisper in response to things that once lit you up. And in that space between the life you've built and the life calling your name, there will be fear. Sagittarius, you are brave. But even you are not immune to the tremble of stepping into nothingness. The mind will scream for certainty. The heart will crave permission. And the world around you may not understand. But you must remember, your soul was never made for repetition. You were born for movement, expansion, and rebirth. You may lose things in this transition, not because they're being taken from you, but because you are releasing them with grace. Think of a bird shedding old feathers. Not because they were bad, but because they are no longer needed for flight. You are not betraying your past by letting go. You are honoring it. Every step you took brought you to this moment. The moment when you realize that what once served you is now asking to be released, so that something wilder, freer, truer can emerge. This new path may not come with a clear map. Sagittarius, This is the part of your journey where trust becomes your compass. Trust in the feeling that says, I can't go back. Trust in the silence that follows a surrendered yes. Trust in the flicker of joy that dances in your belly when you allow yourself to imagine something entirely different. You may walk alone for a while, not because you are abandoned but because you are being recalibrated. The people who truly belong on this next part of your path will find you there, not before. And what will you discover when you answer this calling? Not a new label or title, but a deeper truth. A way of living that feels like home in your own body. A purpose that doesn't exhaust you but energizes you. A love that doesn't clip your wings but flies beside you. This is not the end of the dream. It's the beginning of the one that belongs fully to you. Not your parents, not your culture, not your past self, but you. So I ask you, Sagittarius, what are you still holding on to out of habit rather than love? What parts of your life are echoing with the quiet knowing, this is no longer mine? Can you allow yourself to release without needing a replacement right away? Can you sit in the sacred space of not knowing long enough for your truth to rise? The disruption is here not to destroy you, but to liberate you. Let it. Let the path fall apart if it must. Let the titles fade. Let the roles shift. Let the applause quiet down. And listen. Listen to the part of you that has waited patiently for this moment. The part that knew all along. The life you came here to live is not the one that pleases others, but the one that sets your soul on fire. Gate 3, the soul connection. Meeting the person who unlocks your destiny. There are encounters, Sagittarius, that do not happen on this earth alone. They begin long before we are born, in soul realms, in dreams we don't remember, in the sacred agreements we make before we arrive in this body. You've always sensed this, that some people don't just enter your life, they arrive. Like stars falling into alignment. Like keys you didn't know you'd been carrying. Finally turning in the lock of your becoming. And now the time is near for such a person to enter your orbit. Or perhaps, they are already here, quietly waiting for the right frequency to awaken. This is not just love. It's not the fleeting spark, the poetic attraction, the comfort of company. This is something deeper. Soul-to-soul recognition. A connection that stirs not your mind but your memory. The memory of who you are, beyond roles, beyond fears, beyond every version of yourself shaped by survival. When this person enters, they won't complete you. They'll awaken you. And that's far more sacred. The universe has been preparing both of you for this. Every lesson, every heartbreak, every solitary night under distant skies. It was all part of the preparation. You had to walk your own path long enough to grow your own roots. You had to fall apart and reassemble yourself enough times to know your worth. This meeting only happens when both souls are ready to see, not just each other, but themselves reflected in new light. You might meet them in a way that feels ordinary. A shared glance at a coffee shop, a friend of a friend, a name that keeps showing up in conversations or dreams. The outer form is not what matters. It's the inner trembling, the inexplicable sense of recognition. You'll feel it in your body before your mind catches up. That subtle shift in the air. That pause in time. That knowing that says, I've met you before in a place without names. And Sagittarius, you with your wild heart and fearless curiosity, are ready to receive this person. But that doesn't mean it will be easy. Soul connections don't arrive to flatter your ego. They come to challenge you into expansion. They show you your blind spots. They gently, and sometimes fiercely, mirror the parts of you still waiting to be claimed. This is how they unlock your destiny. Not by giving you answers, but by awakening your questions. One woman once told me she met her soul connection in a workshop she almost skipped. He didn't say much. But when he spoke, something in her wept. Not from sadness but from remembrance. As they got to know each other, he didn't rescue her, didn't praise her. Instead, he asked her the one question no one ever had. What are you afraid you'll lose if you stop running? That question undid her. And in that undoing, she found herself. They are not together in a romantic way. But she says that moment gave her life back to her. This person may not stay forever. Soul connections don't always last a lifetime, but they always last exactly as long as needed. Sometimes they stay for years. Sometimes only for a season. But the impact, it never fades. Because what they awaken in you can't be unawakened. They rearrange your inner architecture. They remind you of the vow you once made to live fully, truthfully, audaciously. And once that vow is remembered, you cannot return to half-living. This person will speak to your fire, Sagittarius. Not in the way others have, trying to tame it, exploit it, or stand too far from its heat. No, this person will sit beside your fire with reverence. They will not fear your brightness. They will not flinch at your shadows. They will meet you in your wild and in your stillness. And because of that, you will remember how sacred it is to be fully seen. And you will be a mirror for them as well. Your honesty, your vision, your refusal to settle for smallness. These will awaken parts of them that have been sleeping for years. It will not be one person lifting the other. It will be a dance, a mutual elevation, a recognition that says, we don't belong to each other, but we walk each other home. Now let me be honest with you. This kind of connection will ask something from you. Vulnerability, patience, courage to be wrong, willingness to be soft when you'd rather run, and perhaps hardest of all, the maturity to not grasp when it's time to let go. Soul connections thrive in truth, not control. And that's what makes them so powerful. They don't demand. They invite. They don't cage. They set free. So I ask you, Sagittarius, are you open enough to receive this? To not just look for love, but for reflection? To not chase connection, but create it through your presence? Can you be still enough to recognize when destiny is speaking through the voice of another? This is the gate where love becomes more than emotion. It becomes evolution, where the mirror doesn't just show your face, but your future, where one encounter becomes the doorway to a whole new level of being. This is what awaits you, not in some distant fantasy, but soon, closer than you think, perhaps already unfolding. Keep your heart open, your feet grounded, your intuition sharp, because the person who unlocks your next chapter is not far. And when you meet them, you will know, not with certainty, but with clarity. The kind that only comes when two paths long separate finally converge in a moment written long ago in the stars. Conclusion, the final invitation. Sagittarius, this is your moment. Sagittarius, if you've come this far, your soul has already said yes. Not to me, not to these words, but to yourself. You've listened not just with your ears, but with the wild and wise place within that always knew you were made for more. And now the horizon is opening, not as a distant dream, but as a living, breathing invitation to step fully into the life that has been waiting for you all along. You are not who you were even yesterday. Something shifted, quietly, deeply, and from this new frequency you are calling in a reality that matches your truth. Not your fears, not your past, but your deepest alignment. There is a person approaching, yes, but more importantly, there is a version of you awakening. One that no longer apologizes for being too passionate, too honest, too free. One that remembers that your fire was never meant to be tamed. It was meant to light the way. So take this moment, breathe it in, let it settle, and when you're ready, walk forward. Not with force, but with faith. Everything you need is already within you, and everything you're calling in is already on its way. If this message spoke to something true inside you, share it in the comments. Let someone else recognize themselves through your words. And if your spirit wants to keep walking this path, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell, and join our growing circle of conscious hearts. Because Sagittarius, the journey is just beginning, and the stars are already singing your name.